Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and I welcome all of you back to another Dark Souls 3 OST. And this one, almost above a lot of many others, almost makes me sad because, yes, I know it, you know it, we all know it. The High Lord Wolnir fight is the worst in Dark Souls 3. Which, again, but that doesn't really cover the full story, though, because the reason why the fight isn't very good is because it's not because it's a DPS test, but basically the fight culminates in destroying three gold bangles on each of Wolnir's arms, and that's it. If you have like I said, when I used my Executioner's Greatsword to defeat Wolnir, I did it in about like 3 to 4 hits to destroy each bangle, and well, yeah, that's basically all she wrote. I didn't even use Artorias's greatsword during any of this, just because I think like the Executioner's greatsword was just better for poise and just to break poison, just to like do a little bit extra damage at that point. Yeah, but like I said, it's you know what it's. However, it's very, very disappointing because, to be honest, Wolnir has one of the most intriguing sort of backstories for Dark Souls 3, as he was the conqueror of Karthus. He was basically the Aldrich of his day, where he could just conquer any kingdom he wanted to, and there was absolutely nothing that was ever going to stop him. I know there's also some belief that he's either like the dad or some older relative of Yorm the Giant, which we will be covering as well. But Wolnir probably has a backstory and a lore far richer than the fight actually gives, and how he's just pulled straight back into the abyss when the fight's over. I wish there was like more things that could. They try and make the fight have something of a second stage where he pulls his sword out of the ground, which, to be fair, it's a really cool sword that he uses, and I've used his sword many, many times to like clear a lot of enemies out in one go. And also when he tries to summon skeletons as well during a second stage. But to be honest, again, this is one of those cases where you could defeat Wolnir before he even pulls his sword out, which, I'm sorry, it doesn't make the fight any more interesting, because if it could be defeated that quickly, then why would you want to wait and hang around to see what else he can do? Because, as I said before, trying to like let fights go on for eternity isn't really a thing that's a good idea in these games. But with all that being said and done, let's see, however, if the OST for Wolnir is better. It probably already is better than the fight itself. There are many, many examples of fights in this game where the OST is actually better than the fight itself, but let's see if Wolnir's is the same, shall we? So, here we go. I like that little gentle chanting of what sounds like an army behind him, because it's probably also true this was Wolnir's army that now rests in the catacombs of Karthus. That's kind of interesting. The land that Wolnir chose to conquer, and it's surrounded by his own dead men. And the reason I say his dead men, as opposed to anyone that's actually fought to defend Carthus, well, it begs the question. Well, I was gonna say it begs the question why they don't fight against Wolnir with us, but maybe these were just his warriors that got it entrapped in this sort of abyss-like landscape with him. Sort of groans and he doesn't really make any other sounds apart from a feeble attempt to showcase he's still alive. So I would say the question is definitely solved as to what's better, the music. I mean, it absolutely is. But I also do think it's really, really interesting is that via its double bass was almost in tune in a very bizarre sort of way, along with the sort of army that was pitching in the background. That's all very, very cool. But I am going to say, and I know what you guys are probably going to say as well, this fight should have been a lot better. Because I've seen some concept art on Pinterest before about how Wolnir is very, very nearly the size of a mountain. And he looks as if he has still some like flesh stuck to his cheeks and stuff like that. It gives me... It's like as though Wolnir should... Because Wolnir isn't mentioned again after this. He isn't really referenced again after this. The whole point... the Catacombs of Carthus just kind of feels like a bit of a missed opportunity, because as far as just the game is concerned, it's just an obstacle between you and getting to Irithyll of the Boreal Valley. And it doesn't really exist for any other purpose aside from this. Which begs the question, was it Pontiff's doing that, or was it just through the sake of convenience that this was the boundary between Farron Keep and Irithyll? I honestly don't know, but I will also say there could have been a better way of handling this or something like that, because aside from the fact that, again, in the demon ruins, when you fight like the old demon king is a much better sort of example for how this sort of fight should have gone. But I suppose for what it's worth, it's really good for the sake of there being a completely evil monstrosity lurking around in this game. But it's also worth noticing that even in the wake of the fire fading and the lords returning from their graves, it hinted to the fact that maybe Wolnir perhaps was maybe chosen to be a Lord of Cinder before he was apprehended. Imagine if someone like Wolnir took the mantle of being a Lord of Cinder. That would be a very interesting... Do you think that should have been like a direction they should have gone in? Is they should have also made... they should have bothered with that one of us lord that you find in Firelink, and they should have just made Wolnir a Lord of Cinder as well, because I think you could probably have like really. There's got to be a way of doing this. And I'm trying to think at the top of my head about what sort of like that you could have compared this to, or if there's something else that perhaps I'm missing. Honestly, I'm not entirely sure, but I'm more than certain it will occur to me, and I'm more than certain you can make a fight like this work somehow without making it too easy. But that's probably in the benefit of hindsight from an 8-year-old video game, so I can't really be that mean to it. But with all that being said and done, I do, and I will say that maybe is a bit of an issue in terms of like how there's no real indicator, or like there's no escalation in dramatics when Wolnir climbs further and further up the battlefield to you. It's kind of for the same problems that the Cursed Rotted Greatwood has, is that there's no escalation because the difficulty is sort of missing a little bit from this fight. But, oh well. I hope all of you guys have enjoyed this, and I cannot wait to see all of you guys again in the next video. Take care, and bye-bye for now.